Good
Yes,
afternoon.
sir.
How you doing?
All right.
I'm glad to see you here. My question is pertaining to veterans. I know you answered part of my question when you spoke about the oversight committee that the secretaries and them haven't made it through there yet. And this secretary that's over the VA now, he's proposing so many cuts and cutbacks on different benefits and stuff like that. And through hearing and reading about how a lot of permanent VA veterans like myself, I'm a 100% DAV, that's talking about engaging and re-evaluating and reviewing a lot of cases that's been there to cut veterans' pay and cut the benefits there at the VA service, because at some of the facilities, staffs has been reduced. And I am, like I say, 100% DAV, and then I get Social Security too. I don't work or nothing like that. But what is possible for us veterans to look forward to with this new VA secretary? Because this guy, he has really upped the flames on, look like shutting much of the veterans' benefits down for some of us. And by us being like here in a rural area, we have to travel to different facilities. And most of us, we worked and we did this and that. Like I say, I was in the service myself, but it bothers me that my benefits might be covered because I did serve my country. I wasn't drafted, I volunteered. I went and served my country. Man, got disabled in the service. And it took me over 20-some years, maybe pretty close to 30, to get where I am now because of something what happened. I had cold exposure. A lot of people don't know what cold exposure is. Cold exposure is the next thing to frostbite. Depending on the pigment of your skin, it will determine whether you got cold exposure or you got frostbite. It took me 20 years for them to figure out that I had frostbite because of the pigment of my skin. But I depend on my veterans. So that's why I'm concerned about this guy that's up there now.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your service. You did a lot for this country. And, you know, our veterans are very precious. We said if you go to the service and fortunate to come back, we'll provide you health care for life. We'll educate you for whatever you want to be in life. And if you want a home, we'll finance your home. So we made that commitment going in. And now on your way home, it's unfair for this country to take any of those opportunities away from you. But it's also unfair for them to make it difficult for you to access the system. And when you're taking all these employees out of the system with no direction on how I'm to participate, it is a problem. And that's why I raised the issue for veterans, because in so many instances, some of our veterans have to go over 100 miles to get health care. And we don't have public transportation. So they either got to hire someone or basically get there the best way they can. So we encourage the veterans, work through your American Legion, your VFW, your other traditional organizations. They are raising holy hell on behalf of the veterans because they know potentially what's going to happen if these cuts go through. And look, we only had 2 Republicans to vote against the last budget last time. All the Democrats voted against it, but we don't have a majority. So all of the cuts that I'm laying out to you are voted and passed solely by the Republicans in Congress. You got to talk to your Republican members, if you know any, but you do have 2 senators. They need to hear from you about the potential harm that these cuts will happen to you or people you know. It's so important for them to know that. Yes, sir.
Senator, thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Buckles, and I'm telling you, when you talk about Medicare and Medicaid, and just in the last 2 months, well, this year alone, Humana, I use Humana for example. Humana used to, if I would charge $150 for a visit, Humana used to pay me maybe $90. Now they're paying me like $60 from that visit. I'm a physician. I'm not a nurse practitioner, I'm an MD. There's few of us around here. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, working all up at 2 o'clock in the morning, going through charts, going through patient charts. I came back to Mississippi because this is where I'm from Franklin County. And I have over 200 people on my waiting list. I don't take no more patients because I can't take no more. I'm tired. Want to quit every day, but I have a duty to African Americans here in this place. And what gets me is that we don't understand sometimes, as African Americans, we don't want to vote. And it takes, and I don't, and we'll go to places where if they see 60 people a day, you cannot have preventive health care. 60 people a day, you can't have preventive health care. I try to sit down, spend time with my patients, educate you on your GFR, educate you on what your cholesterol is, what your LDL is, your HDL. I try to educate so I don't just treat you like cattle. It's hard to do that when the insurance don't want to pay you. And no doctors want to come here. We recruit all the time. I'm on the board here. I'm on the hospital board. We try to recruit all the time. Nobody wants to come here and to go do this every day and to get no sleep. God rest Dr. Todd, but there's no Dr. Todd no more. God rest his soul, but the younger doctors will not do this. I'm 52 years old, been a doctor for 26 years, and I'm tired of primary health care. So we have to do our part to vote. To vote. Because once I see a patient and I pay my nurse $20 and I pay my staff after $60, there's nothing left for me to pay myself half the time. That's why I have to work the ER. I have to go work here and go work there to make a living for myself, and then come back to my practice to take care of people who get mad when you say you owe me $2 and you want to fight my staff because you owe me $2. I'm serious. And my staff, you want to curse the staff out. We got to make a change in ourselves because there's no more. The young people are not coming here as doctors. Okay? So, Senator, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to get my back. I'm telling you the truth, though. So everybody don't hear the truth around here. I'm the only doctor. I'm the only black family practice doctor here. The only one. The only one in family practice, black family practice doctor here. The rest of them nurse practitioners. Thank God for the nurse practitioners. We got to make a difference. We got to vote.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Doc. The other part is we had to get a federal law passed for nurse practitioners to do work in this state because the doctors didn't want it. And we said to the doctors, wait, we don't have enough folk to go around. We had to do the same thing for physician assistants because the only physician assistants in the state was at the VA hospital. And so we're gradually trying to change some of the legislation, but we really got to figure out how we can get some of our young talent back. You got to help us. And so the county can help send folk to college, to med school because of a shortage, and in return, they got to agree to come back and work in this community. They said, well, we've never done that before. Okay, you can do it now. If that's a priority, you can put in the budget coming up for October 1, you can put some money in there for medical scholarships. Send some folk from this community to medical school. And then and they sign a contract that they got to come back. If not, they got to pay all the money. If they come back, then the loan's forgiven. And if we can get them here for 3 or 4 years, they just might stay. but we got to do that. So there are a lot of ways we can do it, but we have to work together. The federal government creates the incentives so that a lot of these things can happen. I encourage you to keep up with the news that's going on around this country. And look, I know it's tough because it's something every day. But you can only imagine, most of the time, we hear it when you hear it because there are no hearings going on in many of the committees of jurisdiction. And so because of that, we're challenged. I want to acknowledge your sheriff, who's here tonight. Sheriff. Now, you know, I got 29 sheriffs. You know, now I'm about to really go out on a limb. Y'all got the best or one of the best sheriffs that I know. Okay, all right. You know, it's not that he can just read and write and all that kind of stuff. He cares about the community. And that's what's so important is when I grew up, every time I saw a policeman, I'd break and run. You know, now you have a policeman that you go to with your problems. And that's important. That's what the power of putting somebody in office that you know and you respect. And I think that's so important. What the doctor said about putting people in places, the only reason, in a lot of our opinion, is what's happening right now. A lot of people didn't go and vote. And because of not voting, you know, we're dealing with this retribution that the winner said he was going to do. You know, people ask me, say, well, I don't understand why the president's doing this. I said, I do. He said he was going to do it. And he's doing it. And so it's not as if he decided to do it after. He let the cat out the bag while he was running. And if you heard something called Project 2025, just look at it, and a lot of the things that are being done are scripted in that Project 2025, of which our president said he didn't know anything about it. He didn't know anything. And so the person who wrote it, he nominated him to be head of the Office of Management and Budget. You know what I'm saying? But he's the president. I respect the position. His policies are not good. And at every opportunity when they're not good, I'm going to oppose it. If they make sense, I'll support it. It just so happens ain't none of them making sense. So we'll just have to work through that. Let me thank all of you for coming. Jackie will be back work shortly. It's so important. You know, people got kindred spirits. And you know, you can tell good people when you meet them. And in my opinion, she's one of them. And you know, that grandson of mine, every time he does wrong, he said, Paw, I'm going to do better next time. And Pastor, folk come to you, and you're in the forgiving business. And I would be less than a person not to do the same thing. And so I'm comfortable with it. I talk to key folk, and to a person, nobody said don't do it. So I'm at peace with it. So I want you to know that. Now, just they gonna holler. That's all right. January 6th taught me a lot about this country. I learned a lot about what happens when people are misinformed. I learned a lot about how precious our democracy is and how it's still an experiment this far in, and how misinformed people can go in the wrong direction. And so that's what we're faced with now. But I still have faith that we'll turn this around. But we can't allow ourselves to become anything other than loyal American citizens. Stay here and fight for what we think is right. And in the end, I'm convinced that it'll work out. Pastor, I'm going to let you close us in a word of prayer. And thank you all for coming. Somebody said, when will the office reopen? It said, when the office will reopen? Monday. How about that? All right. Thank you much.